How can you all be so calm and cool about this?
We've all been waiting for it to happen.
Hello, kitties.
Just didn't know how it was going to rear its ugly head.
What?
The New World Order.
Population reduction.
Is that what you and Lily were filming?
Yeah,
Tell me.
there's no going back from this deal. Everything will change for you once you know.
Tell me.
I believe we are enslaved in a society where we will not be free to think or feel or do anything other than consume. Slaves for work, to buy things beyond our means. Living in fear of terrorism. I believe this is to blindside us, trick us into a situation where they, the powers that be, will wipe us out. Kill most of us. Kill all of us here. They are going to reduce the population.
There will be a global population reduction until there are only 500 million people there.
Now listen to what he's about to say.
How would they reduce the population? We're not stupid.
Hitler said, the bigger the lie, the more the people will believe it.
I think it will be done Hitler style. The armed forces are going to kill us. They'll follow orders. It's what they've been trained.
Now that I don't believe, all right? That I don't believe, because just like I mean, you got to think about history, all right? When Hitler was in power, and granted, I wasn't there. Obviously, I wasn't there during that whole deal. But when he killed people, I mean, it wasn't blatant, but it was blatant. If that makes sense. You know, he lied and said, "Oh yeah, we're going here. You're just gonna get a shower or whatever," and boom, throw them in the gas chamber, and they all fucking die. It's fucking absolutely disgusting. But the reason why I'm saying this shit is because, to me, that was more in your face, like in your face evil. Like it was known, it was easy to see that, oh my god, this guy is just exterminating people. And obviously you see how it went down. Obviously, eventually, you know, he was killed, or supposedly was killed, and it all stopped apparently. But so what better way than now to do it silently? And I'll get to that in a second.
To do. They're being taught to be racists. The army are already killing people in other countries. People in power are using fear to fuel the racism. How long before they use this racism to make soldiers turn on their own? Innocent people.
And that's already happening.
Living in a police state.
So it had begun. Controlling and monitoring the movement of individuals within the society. Putting chips in passports. ID cards, CCTV.
And that's already here.
They're using this orchestrated ruse to convince the public to accept Big Brother type controls.
Which is exactly what's happening right now, because they have made this fraud-ass bullshit saying that there's this crazy thing going around and it's killing everybody, when they literally put out their own shit and say that it's, you know, pretty much nothing to worry about, you know, and they're doing all of this under the guise of, oh my god, everyone's gonna die because there's this thing going around, when whole time it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with switching over the monetary system, switching over the medical system, switching over the government system, switching over religion, switching over everything that we know to be home or to be normal, and they're switching it up for their means.
Then they will intentionally reduce the mass of the world's population. Mass genocide on a scale never seen before. There are a mass of ways they could introduce population slaughter. More staged events, orchestrated and maneuvered conflicts, and the use of bioengineered diseases, vaccines.
Woo! I know you heard that word. So they've engineered wars. We know that. There's been many countless people who have died for no reason. A lot of people, maybe even military people, might be offended by that. But you got to understand where I'm coming from. You got to understand that that I don't see it like you do. That I don't see you serving, so-called quote unquote, serving your country is something that's good, because the people that are giving you your orders and behind all that shit, it's nothing but garbage. That's all it is. It's lies, it's garbage, and manipulation to get you to do what they want you to do, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, proud to be an American, proud to be military service, proud to be in the military, blah, 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 blah." And that's how they get people to get offended, because they make it so that, oh my God, you should be proud and these people should be respected. So then when little old me comes around and says the shit that I just said, you know, people get offended because they're like, "Oh, what kind of disrespect are you on, man? That's fucked up, man. These people died for us and risked their lives for us." Like, yeah, I get that, and I appreciate that, but you gotta understand that you're risking your life for fucking no reason, man. And maybe not in every situation, but you're risking your fucking life to perpetuate an agenda that goes against us, period, and goes for the so-called elite, the shit eaters, the piss drinkers, all them fuckers.
It could come in vaccines. Women are being encouraged to get sterilized. What if they're using cervical cancer jabs? It'll be done in a barbaric fashion, using draconian methods, and this global holocaust will probably come out from under the flag of the UN.
I can almost imagine us being frog-marched away from our homes in a martial law kind of way. No one bats an eyelid.
In order to stabilize world population, they need, or want, to dispose of 6.5 billion people. It's a horrible thing to say, but isn't it just as bad not to say it?
How can they, John? It's bullshit. It's got to be.
Why?
Because that would make my whole life a lie.
And you see, that's the problem with everybody who refuses to see what I see and what everyone else sees. And the problem with that is that you're going to ignore it for so long to the point where you're going to, it's officially going to hit you in like a ton of fucking bricks, all right? And you're going to literally lose your mind because you can't fathom that everything's a lie. Everything. From the moment you came out your mother's womb until the day that you die, everything that you've been taught has been a lie. I made that rhyme. Some unintentional bars. But everything, you know, and that's the problem, is that people are not going to be able to handle that. You know what I mean? And that's why over a decade, or I'm sorry, more than a decade, I have slowly gotten out of the sleepfulness, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and slowly, you know, have wakened myself up. And maybe it's a little bit easier that way, because, you know, it's not all at once, you know. That's why I encourage people to do their own research, because it's a process. You can't just boom, give me everything, and then all of a sudden everything's good. No, you're gonna fucking want to commit suicide, man. People don't get it, but I just wanted to put that in perspective.
Building blocks with me.
What?
Ernest?
Please, Dion. Just one game.
Okay.
How did it fall?
How did it fall? Forwards?
Why?
Well, it's about balance. You take it out one side, the balance is off, it topples over, and gravity pulls it down.
Every time?
Yeah.
Are you certain?
Yeah.
Now, when we play this, we pull out blocks from all over the structure because we don't want to be responsible for it falling over. Am I correct?
Yeah.
What happens if we only pull out blocks from one side?
Same thing.
Please demonstrate. So, they fall over,
Yeah.
not down.
No. Ernest, what's your point?
With any kind of building blocks, when you pull out the blocks from the side, it falls over at that point. Well, then explain to me how, when an aeroplane was flown into one of the Twin Towers on September the 11th, that building collapsed in on itself.
Exactly, because it's called a controlled demolition. I always say this. Go to your app store on your phone, all right? And download any Sims game or Sims Life, Sims World, or whatever it's called, and you can literally build your own city, your own town, whatever you want to call it. And I've always wondered as a kid why they would have the option to bring a tornado in and destroy everything that you've built, or make an earthquake and destroy everything you built, or make fires, hurricanes, and whatever other options they have out there. And it makes perfect sense now, because the people who are running this world, the people who own everything, are playing this like a game. They build everything up. They take everything as far as the economy and financially, and now they're just having fun, sick as it is. And what do? They set up those towers with thermite, or I think that's what it's called, and they digitally made a plane go into the side of it. And the way that they make it look real is they timed it to where as soon as the digital plane hit, these bombs or whatever it was went off. So it made it look like, it hit and it exploded. But I mean, anybody with fucking common sense would know that. You'd ask yourself, why is the building blowing up? That makes no sense, because there was plenty other pieces of the building, or places of the building, I should say, that blew up and exploded with fire and all this other bullshit, and they weren't even nowhere near the wreck point. Not to mention, gasoline ain't gonna burn those steel beams down. That's like the biggest quote. Gasoline doesn't melt steel beams. That's the damn truth. Something had to have severed those support beams and for it to collapse in on itself. Because just like the guy said, just like the Jenga thing, you take stuff from the side, it's going to topple over to whatever side you hit. That thing hit it, that plane hit it, took it like a champ, and then out of nowhere, it just collapses in on itself. That was not only a sacrifice ritual, that was to cover up a lot of things because there's a lot of financial information, possibly fraud and whatever else in that building, and never to be found again. Not to mention how many people have died from that, and it'll go down in history as probably one of the worst things that, well, I won't say one of the worst, because there's a lot more other things that have happened in the world. But as far as our country, and as far, I mean, there's definitely worse things. Don't get me wrong, but one of the worst things, because of all those people who were trapped in there who died, it's disgusting. Not to mention how you can't find any other people or any other plane or any pieces of the plane or any of that shit, but magically they find the guy's passport still intact, not burned up, not ripped up, nothing. That shit makes no sense, but I'm going way too far, sorry.
What about the other tower? Scientifically, mathematically, or blockily, those buildings should have fallen over, not inwards. I mean, I'll concede to the idea that by some sort of miracle, one of those towers could have collapsed in on itself. But both of them? I'm afraid I doubted that the moment I watched it happen live. It is inconceivable that those planes brought those buildings down.
But watch a controlled demolition, it looks the same.
If the picture says 1,000 words, then our eyes can see 1,000 lives. See it to believe it.
Who would... How... Who would do that? Why would they?
Fear.
9/11, like 7/7, was pure fear. Nothing more.
September the 11th, 2001 was a ruse, a show, a charade that even a child could identify.
Bullshit. No fucking way. No way.
Dion, you need to understand
Not
that.
from us, she doesn't. She's got to do it herself.
Pardon?
She's got to do it herself. She's got to look, research, make an educated judgment. We can't do that for her. Right?
And this is why I always say, when people come and ask me, just give me the answers, I just want to know, I gotta know, just, why can't you tell me, why do I gotta research it? For that reason exactly. Because you want the answers given to you. You don't want to find them out organically. Yes, I understand that when you go and look for answers and research everything, yes, you are watching another person's video. You know, just like you're watching my video right now. Like, I get that. But what I'm trying to explain is that you have to research it, because you have to want, and you have to have that urge to want to know. If you don't have that urge to want to know, and to actually say, fuck that, I'm not going to watch this bullshit ass television show. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to actually do some research and try to figure out what the fuck is going on in this world. All right? That's the want that you need. That's the want that you have to have. Like I said, you got to want to know the truth. You got to want to figure it out. You got to want to understand it. And by me giving you all the answers, or anybody sitting there and just telling you how it is, you'll never believe it. And then on top of it, it'll never get to you. You'll never fully understand it until you actually go and engulf yourself within that information, is all I'm trying to say.
Right.
Here's a laptop. On this bookcase, there are hundreds of books you can read. Here, and this is the address for the British Library, home of every book in the country, and the address of a smaller bookshop. They can tell you about workshops and seminars you can go to. We've shown you the door. It's up to you to open it. I'd say slowly catch a monkey, but they want to reduce the population by about 95%. Not sure you can afford to be slowly. Do you?
For most, this is nothing more than a story. A diversion from the outside world. Within some of you, a feeling is starting to stir. Doesn't matter where you're from, what culture you're from, what colour your skin is, what God you believe in, or if you believe in a God at all. You will be affected. The cracks are beginning to show. Maybe you choose to ignore it. Maybe you don't know how to face it, or maybe you think you're alone in this. For most, this is nothing more than a story, a diversion from the outside world. But within some of you, a feeling is starting to stir. It's time to stand up, with eyes open, ears down to the ground. A change is long overdue. So wake up. Question everything. Are you awake? Wake up. Now.